All right, Grace. So I kind of look at a realtor as having kind of like three stages of working with a home buyer.
Right,
There's the home search,
right.
um, and then there is at the end, which is, home inspection and wrapping up and going to the closing table.
Uh-huh.
But in the middle is a really key part, and
Oh, yeah.
that is the
It's
negotiation
my favorite part.
of the contract.
Yeah,
All right?
yeah.
And um, what value do you put on negotiation as far as, as I'm saying, there's three levels or three
Mm-hmm.
stages of realtor engagement. Where does the negotiating and contract terms fall in relation to the other two? Home search and
The most
closing.
important.
Okay, why? How come? Why do you say it's the most important?
Well, that's an interesting question. Um, but why it's the most important is because you're either going to have a great negotiation and win the bid as the best buyer, or you're going to lose it if you're in a competing environment. So it's very crucial in that environment to have a really good negotiator. And then even if the market's soft and things have been kind of dwindling out there, it gives you a lot more leverage if you have a good negotiator, not to beat people up on the price, but to be a little bit more aggressive on the price, particularly initially as you go in, because so what if somebody says no? You just come back again.
Yeah.
It doesn't hurt you. What you're trying to do in negotiations, it's like chess. It's a strategy, and you need to think through a lot of different things. Not always is the best offer the offer that a seller will consider. There's a lot of things that go into it.
So you've had buyers
Mm-hmm.
not make the highest and best offer
Mm-hmm.
and still get the contract.
Absolutely.
All right.
Because
Can you
of the
give
other
us an
terms.
example of how you, like,
Yes.
what you may have done to help a home buyer save money by not having to go highest and best?
Well, they may have went. I use escalation clauses a lot in negotiation.
Explain escalation clauses for.
So an escalation clause, it's you're going to put in your contract that this is the price. However, you're willing to go in increments of 2,000, 3,000, depending on the price point, 5,000 above the next best offer up to X amount.
Okay.
The seller has to show you that other best offer that triggers that escalation clause, but it's a great way to stay in the game and not overpay, but stay in the game.
Yeah.
Okay? So that's one way. I always tell a client, let's write a letter. We want a picture of you, whether it's you and your kids or you and your dog or whatever, and you're going to tell an emotional story. So they'll write it and I'll look at it. Sometimes I edit it, sometimes I don't. But you have a letter. Because some sellers, that's
It
more
matters to some
important
people.
than anything. They're like, bless their heart. Oh my gosh, this is their first home together. She just got her nursing degree. Oh, we want to help them out. If the price is close to the other offer, they may consider it. The other two things, there's some other aspects that are important. Inspection. There's two huge hurdles that sellers are scared to death of: inspection issues and appraisal issues. And if you can have those terms a little bit more flexible, for example, you're going through the house, you're like, everything's pretty much been updated. There's probably not a lot we're going to find. So we could put in there that the only repairs that we're going to request are if there's any major mechanical issue that comes up in the inspection. Other than that, we're not going to ask for anything. Okay? Now, the other big area is appraisal. So some people are like, oh no, it's got to appraise. I'm like, well, there's some ways you can work around it, particularly if you have a lot of additional resources available, and maybe it's not that far off in price. But if I have the buyer and I'm trying to make sure I get to a certain price, I'm going to present to the appraiser comps that support our price. If I'm trying to not negotiate the price as a buyer's agent, then I don't do anything. I always, on the listing side, always present to the appraiser, here's comparables that we came up with. They're just for you to, here's a guardrail.
Here's some ideas.
Yeah. So it just depends on what you're trying to do. But inspection and appraisal are two big areas in terms of terms that you can create some pretty creative strategies on that may pull down a seller's anxiety if you write it correctly.
Yeah, I've seen the appraisal thing work a number of times, especially like you were saying, if somebody's bringing a lot of cash to the table to
Right.
close, completely waiving the appraisal or waiving some portion of the appraisal. I've seen waiving the appraisal really work well in a lot of situations.
It does.
Because if you've got a house and the seller is worried, like, is this going to appraise? And one guy is offering $10,000 more, $15,000 more, but they're like, it has to appraise. And the other guy's like, well, I'm going to offer $15,000 less, but I don't care what the appraisal says, I'm buying this property. You're giving the seller certainty and therefore giving your buyer a better deal.
It's really about reducing anxiety for a seller, and ways to do that will allow you to be at the top of the chart.
So I sold a home a while back, and it was when the market was super hot. So I had like 16 offers, just ridiculous. And the best offer was a gentleman who wanted to buy the property as an investment property, and he was the best offer by $25,000, which was substantial because it was a $400,000 house, and but then he wanted to do every type of inspection possible. Every inspection, radon and mold and mildew and this and that, and kind of went through all these things. And he said, if anything's ever found, you agree to pay to remediate it and do this and do that, and just this whole laundry list. And then the next offer down, $25,000 less, they wanted to live in the house, and they're like, we love it, can't wait to move in. And I was like, I want to go with them.
Because it's an emotional decision.
Because it was easy. I felt like he's going to run me around.
He's going to beat
He's
you
going to
up.
beat me up.
Yeah.
And I had a realtor that was like, Josh, you need to watch out for this. Of course, I already knew to watch out for it.
Right.
And so, yeah, you go with the lower offer. So that's how you negotiate to get people the house they want without having to go highest and best price.
Correct. It's all about the negotiation.
It's important.
It is very important.